So last time around, we started our exploration of the Spirit's Castle, and I think we got a good chunk of it out of the way. It's just, well, with all the backtracking to Angela and all the combat and all the lights we had to light up, well, we ended up burning through a lot of our inventory, and worse yet, we kind of reached a dead end of places we can explore in the Spirit's Castle. It's just that as we make our way back through the mansion to the Spirit's Castle, we do run across a mysterious new key here. Now, I'm not 100% certain what triggers the key to appear here. I don't know if it's just exploring a certain amount of the castle itself. It's just this key is going to be very important for our progress further into the Spirit's Castle. The thing is, it's not actually a key for the castle itself. Instead, if we take a quick look, yeah, this is for that one locked room in the storehouse area of the mansion. And since we aren't too far away from there, figure it wouldn't hurt to pop over and see what is in that locked room. And trust me when I say what's in here is going to be very necessary for our future progression. And no, it's not this big fat rat. Still manages to hurt us with its dying body. I'm not 100% sure still on how that works. But yeah, in this locked storeroom we find what appears to be a very pixelated painting of a robot, I think. It's a bit hard to tell. I don't know if that's an Easter egg, but no, what's the most important thing in here is this length of rope with a hook on the end. Now, there are plenty of things you can do with the rope. You can hang yourself if you're having to play through this game. It's just if we take a look at the description, it specifically says we can use this to climb up or down. And if you recall in the previous video, I think there was a portion of the Spirit's Castle where it looked like we could get down to a lower level if we just had something to climb on. It was right in this open courtyard area here. And yeah, you can probably imagine that, well, this is quite a bit of really unspecified backtracking. I guess they would have assumed that you would have had to, refill your inventory at some point and, stumble across that key and then come back here, but yeah, I ended up having to cut out about 7 minutes of unnecessary retreading of places we've already been. Good news is, after finding the sweet spot for the rope here, we can now continue into a brand new and lovely area. I assume these planters have dirt in them. They almost give the appearance of toxic sludge. But all in all, I have been trying to maximize our way through the Spirit's Castle since we have been running on a bit of a timer. And technically we could have gotten that rope a little bit early. It's just, well, if we hadn't gone the way we had and gotten that key after going through all those trap rooms and doing all that stuff, well, we would have reached yet another dead end here. Good thing is, we did manage to get all that out of the way, so we can continue progressing forward, though I'm not even going to worry about that bad. So instead of progressing straight forward, we're going to make a little bit of a detour here. Now, you might notice at this point that things seem a little bit better illuminated, and that's because after a little bit of a response from the thread, and I guess just people trying to make my trip a little bit easier, I decided to up the brightness in the game to the one other setting that I know of. And it does help quite a bit. It's just, as you can kind of tell, it does kind of eliminate the whole darkness thing that the game had going for it. Though, I mean, there is still a necessity for lighting up the torches in the game. I mean, not really so much in the case of this particular room. I mean, outside of checking out some of the nice decor here, we will never see that deer head again. But yeah, I think it really does help get a better grasp of what's going on in the game. And I'm really glad that people on the thread decided to say, hey, I'm getting tired of not being able to see 80% of what's going on in the game. Though, sometimes even with better lighting, it doesn't always mean that we'll have a completely safe ride. Now, we've already had to fight 2 gaunts at once before. It's just it was in a slightly larger room and it didn't have them both heading towards us right as we entered. And it also doesn't help the fact that, for some reason, I'm managing to not really get a good beat on these guys. I don't think there ever is a way to get really, really good at the combat in the Note. I think it's mostly just stock up on as many bullets as you can. In the end, though, there isn't really too much of a reason to go in this room. The only reason I wanted to go in here is because both of these gaunts do happen to have items that we can sell. And in fact, the other gaunt here has a very, very special item that we can sell. This scratch silver bracelet, though it doesn't seem like it would get us more money, in actuality gets us about an extra 2,000 gold, which is, I'd say, pretty much worth it. I don't think the enemies have random loot, but I do think they do have an assortment of items they can drop, given the particular enemy type. I think these gaunts either have a chance to drop the silver necklace or a silver bracelet. It's just they have, I think only very specific ones will ever drop that silver bracelet. And all in all, I think I might have mentioned it in the thread itself, but I am kind of impressed by the fact the game decided to include something of an economy. I mean, when you look at something like, Silent Hill or Resident Evil, it doesn't always make a lot of sense that there's just kind of random bullets and everything you could possibly need just scattered around the general area. And instead this game decides, hey, it would probably make more sense that the nearby town is where you happen to get all your items. And I can only assume that, well, outside of tourism, the town doesn't really get much business outside of, I guess, ghost hunters looking to stock up on all their bullets and ointments. But after all that tough combat, we finally gotten to the location that we were hoping to get to. And if you're wondering, hey, do we finally get something to read in this game called The Note? Hate to break it to you, but still no. And it's honestly a bit odd to me that in a horror game, we still have not managed to find any reading material. But our real source of interest in this room and our prized possession that we've been looking for is this mold on the ground here. Yeah, initially it just seems like maybe a plaque. And instead, on closer inspection, it does seem to be the mold of a mask. And you might have recalled in the previous video, we did have one final door in the trap room that did require a mask. So we are going to have to do, believe it or not, a little bit of pottery. And that's going to require backtracking back to the mansion. Back to this incinerator here. And there was a reason that I made sure to point out this little stack of clay here, as well as the kiln/incinerator off to the side. Because to make the mask, we are going to have to do a very specific set of steps. Step 1, put the clay into the mold. Step 2, I'm going to go ahead and put the mold into the unlit incinerator. Then to get the heat and fire going, I'm going to place in the firewood we made sure to pick up on the way back here. And then we just want to light it up. And the last, very final important step, got to give it some time. But we have to give it a very, very, very specific amount of time. Not 1 hour, not 2 hours, 3 hours exactly. Now you might be wondering how you figure that out, and as far as I can tell, trial and error. Though, trial and error can be a little bit dangerous if you've been trying to follow the best possible path.
The oil in the watchroom will run out soon.
Because yeah, if you manage to get here with the right amount of time, you can just barely skate through right when the oil runs out in the dungeon. So, we want to go ahead and take that finished up mask. And we want to quickly hurry back to the dungeon because we don't want Angela to be left high and dry. And since I haven't shown it off yet, just because I've figured it's probably best to edit all these out, I want to at least show one of the instances where I have to backtrack to the dungeon. And this isn't even like the maximum distance you can go, like from the spirit castle back to the dungeon itself. And it's also good to keep in mind that with this increased brightness, most of these rooms where you can kind of see what's going on would normally be completely pitch dark.
Anything happen?
No, nothing.
And no, nothing ever happens to her. She never has anything more to tell us. But yeah, with that wasted 6 or 7 minutes to give her oil, we can now head back to the trap room hallway. We can see what nefarious trap lays behind the final door here. Especially after all that hard work we had to do to even get the key for this door in the first place. Now, if you're wondering if this is going to be as hard as the first trap room or as easy as the second, I'll say it's somewhere about in the middle. Now, I think if you watch any of the Dr. Hauser videos, this whole pendulum trap room is probably going to seem a bit familiar. I think it's a semi-common trope with traps. And in all honesty, they are fairly easy to dodge. It's just that if you do manage to get hit by one of them, they do pretty much about as much damage as one of those big swinging balls that we had trouble with before. And pretty much like the swinging ball trap room, you do have to make sure and light every one of the torches in here, though, yeah, it's a lot easier than the first trap room. In the end, though, our prize for getting through this trap room is another key. It's just that this key is what we have been searching for so very long. Because it is the key to the cells in the dungeon. That means we can finally head back, free all those missing kids, and maybe safely make our way back into town and get them all back to safety. It's just that doesn't necessarily mean an end to our journey. I mean, we still have to deal with Necromedia and her soul stone, and whatever nefarious ritual or plot that she was planning on doing with the souls of the children in the first place. And we probably had to make some measure of amends to Paulo, right? I mean, we did kind of mess up things, and well, I'm sure we can be of better assistance to him in fighting Necromedia here. So, we'll worry about that once we save all the children.
Greetings.
Necromeda.
Congratulations on making it this far. You found the dungeon key too, I see. Not bad for a human. But this is as far as you get. It's time for you to take a little rest. Then afterwards, I'll take my time to...
Ah!
Farewell!
Damn!
Ah! Seems we've fallen into Necromedia's trap. That, a super, super dangerous trap. But this is actually still very dangerous because we are still under that oil time limit as far as I can tell, and we need to get through this new dungeon as quickly as possible. So first things first, I want to make sure and pick up this medallion here on the floor. It's going to be necessary for one of the two puzzles down in this dungeon area. And it's time for us to try to get through this as quickly as we possibly can. Good thing is, for the most part, this dungeon is a lot less sprawling than the other dungeon. It's pretty straightforward. Just first things first, we are going to have to figure out this puzzle. Now, we're going to run to a number of crossroads, and sometimes one of the doors will have a little plaque. If we take a quick look at this plaque, seems that behind this door is the Dungeon of the Past. Now, I'm not one to really live in the past, not dwell on regret. Instead, I think it's better to just press on forward and not even worry about checking out what's behind that door. At our next crossroad, though, we're given another two set of doors with another plaque. And the dungeon behind this door is the Dungeon of the Future. That scares me even more. We don't really know what's waiting for us in the future. For all we know, it could be like robotic gaunts and cyber bats. Don't really want to deal with that. Instead, the key to solving this puzzle is going to lie behind the third and final door here. And as you can probably guess, this final door is going to lead us into the Dungeon of the Present. That's exactly where all of our problems lie and where we should be focusing our attention. Now, I think technically you could probably go behind the other two doors and get slightly different puzzles. It's just, well, for time's sake, we are going to go ahead and solve this puzzle, as I think it's pretty much the easier option to go for. First things first, we want to know exactly what time it is. Because this clock here on the floor is where we are gonna have to use that clock medal, and we need to put it into the slot that represents the current time. Now, you might think initially that this ghoul is an indication that we've done something wrong, but you would be wrong. Instead, the ghoul just happens to always spawn no matter which number we decide to put the metal into. It's a bit strange, but the real test as to whether or not we actually pick the right time is whether this door will open, and it seems we did not. About a 50-50 chance given the fact that we were, halfway between the hour. Seems, though, that instead of going for 6 o'clock, they did want us to still go for a 5 o'clock time here, so just going to go ahead and quickly set that back into place. And we should be able to quickly continue making our way through this dungeon. Believe it or not, we are almost to the end. Though it's more of a dead end than the type of ending that we do want. I mean, we could backtrack, or if we look up, we might be able to find something else of interest.
Is there anyone down there?
Is that you, Paolo?
Yes. Akira, is that you?
Yes, it's me.
What are you doing in there?
Well?
You're locked in, right?
Yes. I can't see any way out.
Okay, wait a moment. I'm going to drop an item down to you. Here it comes.
Okay.
And bless the heavens above, it is the man of the hour, Paolo. He has come to our rescue yet again, and even though he did say that he dropped an item down to us, it's not on the ground. Instead, if we take a quick look in our inventory, we can see we have a brand new item, which we are going to go ahead and use.
Where am I? What happened?
Amazing, isn't it? It's called a mark item. It transports you instantly to wherever the other mark item is. But enough about that. Did you find the children?
Oh, yes, I must hurry. I had to leave them locked in the dungeon.
I see. You better get going then.
Right. Thanks so much, Paolo.
Man, that Paolo is such a resourceful guy. I mean, I wish I had that marker. It would have made going back and forth to Angela so much more easy, but can't really linger on that too long. We need to head back to the dungeon. You never know when that oil might run out. And up to this point, Akira still has not mentioned the fact that the oil is running low, so I guess we have been making good enough time. We did rush to the dungeon. It's just, yeah, I think we should still check on Angela first before we start freeing any of the children. It's just that we actually might have come a little bit too late. idea where Angela is, and yeah, since she was supposed to be keeping watch over the children, gives me a bad feeling. A bad feeling that's made exponentially worse. So Linda's gone. And Toshi is gone as well. And I can feel it deep down in my bones, but I can only assume that also means that our cool friend Dave is also probably gone as well. Yeah, and we were so close. We finally had the dungeon key. We could free all of them and just escape from this place, and it seems like maybe we've messed up somewhere, but believe it or not, we are actually doing the exact right thing for, I guess, the good progression through the game. Because you might remember this previously emptied cell here, well, it's not empty anymore. Instead, we find our partner Angela has been locked up by some mysterious entity. Maybe she can fill us in on something about what happened.
Akira!
What happened?
The children were taken away just a few minutes ago!
What?
If we hurry, we'll still be able to catch up with them!
Okay. Hold on while I get you out of there. Right. Let's go.
So now it's time for a little bit of a chase. We are just moments behind Necromedia. We might still have an opportunity still to free those missing kids and get safely back to town.
Necromedia.
Did you have a nice little rest in the dungeon?
You! Where did you take them?
You really want to know? You'll find out about one of them soon enough.
Ah! Someone help me!
Now, do you understand? It is his fate to die soon. And for the rest, I'll take my time too. Now, I must be going.
So it seems like Toshi is still somewhere nearby. It's just, whoa, before we get to that, and Necromedia left behind a little playmate for us to deal with first, and more or less you can consider this kind of our first boss of the game. And the Minotaur here is pretty slow, but you might have noticed if we try to fire at it head on, it will deflect our bullets, and well, it has a very large health pool. It's very large in size, and it does a very, very large amount of damage. In fact, I think about 2 solid hits from this thing will kill you. The good thing is, well, even though you can only attack it from the back, 2 of its attacks leave it pretty wide open. And the only real attack you have to worry about is that really quick dashing lunge that it does. The only difficulty here was in dealing with it in such a small room. Still, we need to rush on forward to save Toshi. He is not too far away. He's going to be right up here in the execution room where his head will be on the chopping block. It's just we do have to deal with one more Minotaur fight before we can free him. This one, though, I do find a little bit easier, just because we have a much more wide open room to deal with. Just, I highly recommend never getting too far away from the Minotaur, as it makes him more prone to do his dash attack. So hopefully you enjoyed Toshi's voice, because I think every time the Minotaur attacks, he will give out the most horrible scream.
Are you okay? You're not looking so good.
Are you okay? What took you so long? I was about to be killed! Sorry, I meant to get back sooner. Paolo.
I got worried, so I came to take a look. He's okay, I see.
Yes, thank God. But the other child was taken away.
I see.
Paolo, do you have any idea where I should look? Please tell me anything you can.
Let's see. It's just a guess, but you could try looking in the underground dungeon in the South Tower. The only dungeon in this place are here and in that tower.
The South Tower. How do I get there from here?
Follow the passage on the west side of the castle southwards.
Thanks. I'll go and check it out.
Be careful. I really should go with you, you know.
I'll be okay.
All right. Take this then.
This is the item you used before, isn't it?
Yes, it may come in handy. You use it the same way you did when you got out of the underground dungeon.
Right. Thanks.
That's okay. Well, I'd better be going.
Okay. I'm going to look for the South Tower. Could you take Toshi to a safe place?
Okay. When I've got him there, I'll come back.
Thanks.
Let's go, Toshi.
Okay.
And there you go. We finally get some very nice rewards. Get a very, very useful item from Paolo that allows us to teleport to very specific locations. And not only that, probably most importantly of all, we no longer have to give Angela oil. And we never have to do any of that stupid backtracking anymore. And we have also managed to free 1 out of the 3 kids. So we are making very nice progress here. We'll be able to hopefully make our way even more quickly through these large sprawling areas. And even better than that, we have been given pretty clear indication about the next possible location we can investigate. It's just before we start doing that, and before I call it a video, even though Angela said that we probably should head on to the South Tower to do some investigating, first things first, well, we do need to trigger a cutscene back at the start of the dungeon before we can do that.
Angela, how did it go with Toshi?
I got him back safely.
Good. Let's go then.
Okay.
And with that, our duo is back together. And that means next time, we can safely investigate the South Tower at our own leisure, and hopefully be able to free another one of those missing kids. So hopefully you will join me then, and I will see you next time.